Hey everyone, Ronan here, and welcome back to the channel. We got a lot of things to cover in this massive part. But before we get into that, please, we gotta shout out the patron, Connor Cook. Thank you very much for all the support you provide over on Patreon. And also, you guys, analytics are very important. So please, take a look at these numbers right here, plus the subscribe versus the unsubscribed, as it's very important that we get as many people in. So I'm gonna ask you guys to fuel the algorithm by hitting the like and the comments, so that way we can help get to a larger audience. And also, if this is your first time here, please don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so that way you'll never miss another upload. And last, there's one more thing I gotta say. I need to give a massive shout out to a couple of people who helped me voice some parts in this. First, RuneScribble and Pickle Dill. Thank you very much for all the support. And lastly, and I forgot to do this in the last one, but a big shout out to the YouTuber known as Mystic Umbreon. If you guys don't know him already, please go over and check out his channel, and also Runes and Pickles. I'll have their links in the description below, considering they've voiced a couple of different parts in a couple of different episodes for me thus far. But with all that being said, let's get into What If Ash Won the Hoenn League, Part 12. I hope you enjoy. We begin today's part with May and Max as they are in the midst of helping with the evacuation of the city. Our two heroes are leading people out of the city the way that they came in the day prior, where Drake's boat sits on the other side. However, this is going to be interrupted when another huge explosion goes off, causing the whole city to shake. However, this isn't the most concerning thing, as in the middle of the crater, a burst of water shoots up before being swallowed by a whirlpool that seems to spin faster and faster. But this won't be for long, as May watches a group of people emerge from the whirlpool trying to escape the wake from pulling them under. Luckily for them, it's of little effort for the Pokemon that carry them, the water-type Groudon. But the one known as Phantom seems agitated. "Where is this blasted transport?" he yells, as all of them begin to climb onto the land, only feet from where May and Max stand. This puts the two in an awkward position, as May knows instantly that these guys had something to do with what happened down below. But the crazed people make it next to impossible to do anything about it. Then May hears something, a voice, very faint, calling out to her. This causes the girl to stop for a moment as she looks around, but this is going to be interrupted by the dashing blonde-haired man that has now confronted the evil Team Aqua. He demands that Phantom release the egg at once. He has no idea what he is meddling with. This just causes the crusty old pirate to laugh as he engages with the man that he has come to know as Jack Walker. He tells the ranger that he is way out of his league, so if he values his life, he had better step aside before Phantom makes him, as several of the Aqua grunts surround the Pokemon Ranger. However, Jackie seems unfazed, like he's inviting the challenge. Phantom is a bit miffed by this, but he needs to buy some time, so he orders the grunts to attack Jack. However, the man is too fast, easily evading all of their efforts before making his way to Phantom and relieving him of the egg. This angers the Aqua admin, which causes him to pick up a boulder and throws it at Jack. Surprised by the immense strength of Phantom, Jackie drops the egg, trying to dodge the rock. This causes an all-out panic to ensue as everyone tries to regain possession of it. However, as if it were fate, the egg finds its way to May, landing at her feet. As the girl looks at it, the same voice that she had heard before echoes in her ear. So, out of curiosity, or some other driving force, she bends down and picks up the egg, only for everyone's attention to be fixated on her as it begins to glow with a bright light. Once it subsides, May is now holding a blue Pokemon that looks at her with the eyes of a newborn. This instantly strikes May in a way she has never felt, but that quickly changes as the Pokemon begins to cry in her arms. As panic sets in, May has no idea of what to do. However, Phantom sees this as an opportunity, as his boss, the leader of Team Aqua, arrives above the city by aircraft. Quickly, the pirate uses this to his advantage as he grabs May and the Pokemon before jumping on the transport, leaving Jack and Max to watch as they take off into the storm that surrounds the city. This causes a bit of shock to set in for Max. Watching his sister be carried away like that wasn't something the boy could deal with. All he can do is mumble words as Jack checks him to make sure he is alright. However, Max can only get out the words May, Brock, before pointing at the water. Jackie looks down at the whirlpool, only to think that this kid may have truly lost it. However, at this moment, something breaks through the surface of the water. It's a Milotic, and on its back is Brock, Ash, Juan, and Wallace. The serpent rushes to the shore with urgency to see if Max is okay. Both Brock and Ash dismount Milotic as they check on the boy. However, Max can't get out any words. This is where Jack fills them in on Phantom taking May and the Pokemon that hatched from the egg that she was holding. Ash informs Jackie, as this is what he has been requested to be called, that girl was Max's sister. So this just makes the whole situation that much worse. Ash then declares that he will go after her, but is stopped by Jackie and Brock. The two point out that Ash's only means of travel, his newly evolved Milotic, has collapsed from the strain of the whole event. So, like it or not, the boy is going to be staying here for the time being. Reluctantly, Ash decides that they are right. So, in order to regroup, everyone heads to the Pokemon Center so that Ash can get his Pokemon looked at by Nurse Joy. A brief scene change later, we see Ash turning in his Pokemon to Joy. Both Juan and Wallace commend the boy on the actions of his Milotic. If they hadn't have been there, then the possibility that no one would have survived would be a very real one. Ash tells them that while he is glad that they are okay, he is more concerned about what happened. His friend, May, is gone, taken for no reason. That man, Phantom, I ran into him on Mount Pyre as he attacked an old couple there that guarded that place.
You're speaking of Phoebe's grandparents, aren't you?
Ash turns to see the man he was told is the champion of the region, and with him is Drake. Yeah, Ash says, they attacked the mountain, and we had to fight them off, but they still got away with some sort of orb that was broken. Phoebe said they needed it in something called the Prince of the Sea to find the thing called the Sea Temple. Juan and Wallace look at each other with a very pressing look before speaking up. They now have everything they need.
What do you mean by that? They only took the girl and the Pokemon that hatched from the egg.
With everyone's gaze fixated on Wallace and Juan, they begin to break down the fears that everyone is holding back. That Pokemon you saw was the Prince of the Sea. It is a Pokemon known as Manaphy. They are said to be born once every 1,000 years, and now that one is hatched, it will seek out the one place that it calls home, the Sea Temple, whether it wants to or not. The two explain that Manaphy has a way to find the temple no matter if it has been there before or how long it has been since it was last there. It can find the temple no matter where it is in the world. Then, with the orb that they have, they will be able to set free a terror that has been sealed away since before recorded history. The super ancient Pokemon known as Kyogre was sealed in the temple to prevent man from being able to use its power over the waters of the world for destruction.
What kind of time frame are we looking at until they get to the temple?
Drake asks with a stern tone. The two water experts look at each other and then reply with a less than ideal response. Less than a week. Manaphy uses the moon as a sort of lunar compass. The closer it gets to a red moon, the stronger it can sense the temple. Then, on the night of a blood moon, the temple will become visible underneath the water. It is then Team Aqua will be able to strike and take control of it and Kyogre.
It seems we're short on time, but that doesn't mean we will sit back and let this group of sea pirates gain control of the power of this super Pokemon.
That is well put. Drake, I must ask a favor. I need you to use your expertise and provide a guide to the open seas. Help Jackie find this Team Aqua. Save the girl and stop them from reviving Kyogre at all costs.
Drake nods before Steven informs everyone that he is going to get ahead of this.
There is a scientist that specializes in experimental technology, using satellites to track weather patterns, among other things. I will seek his aid in order to assist with this emergency. Drake, keep me up to date on any progress that is made.
The elite nods before Steven takes his leave in a hurry, the weight of this situation in every step. Turning, Drake informs Jackie that they have to leave at dawn. However, they are interrupted by Ash, Max, and Brock, with all of them stating that they will not be left behind. It is their friend and sister that has been taken, and they will not sit around and hope for the things to turn out okay. Drake immediately speaks to the contrary, but is stopped when he sees the conviction in the eyes of Ash. The boy's resolve will not be shifted.
Very well, but know this. If you are dead weight, then you will be left behind.
Drake then turns, walking away with Jackie following behind. Are you sure it's a good idea to bring those kids along?
While they may be young, don't underestimate their conviction. They have more personal stake in this than anyone. This can be a great asset.
Or a hindrance, Jackie says, as the two exit the Pokemon Center. This leaves Brock and Ash to console Max, as the boy still hasn't been able to calm down since the whole incident. But Max won't speak to Ash, only with Brock, leaving our hero to figure out what they are going to do once they find May. But this is where Juan and Wallace approach the boy. Ash asks if they will be able to help them. However, they both decline, stating that they need to stay in Sootopolis to help reorganize the city after the attack. Plus, they need to make sure that the Cave of of origin is sealed off from any future attacks. However, Wallace offers Ash a very cryptic warning: do not let anyone meddle with the Sea Crown. If someone does, then there will be no way that Kyogre will be able to be contained within the Sea Temple going further. Also, there is one other thing that you can use to help find the temple: the nights leading up to the red moon. The moon itself will appear closer to the ocean. This is the moon and the temple pulling at each other. If you follow it, then you may be able to close the gap between you and Team Aqua. Ash looks as the two men then leave, as the boy and Pikachu can do nothing but think about the warning that they were given to them. This leaves us to follow up with Brock and Max. The boy can do nothing but cry into the arms of Brock. The only thing that Max can say is if he were a trainer, then he would have been able to save his sister. This is his fault, but Brock reassures the boy that it isn't. There wasn't anything that he could do, as they didn't know that May would have been taken, but he promises Max that he will do whatever he can to get May back. As the leader of the Pewter Gym, Brock promises that he will use all of his skills as a trainer to make it so. Brock then looks over to the transfer system that sits in the corner of the center, contemplating his options. The next morning, Ash and his friends are boarding Drake's ship, but as he climbs the ramp, Ash notices Jackie on deck, looking down at the group with a side eye, almost to say they shouldn't be here. However, before Ash can say anything, Jackie walks off as Fitz starts giving commands to raise the anchor and drops the sails. They are moving out. Their destination is the eye of the storm that is in the seas south of Sutopolis. A few hours pass with little happening, and we find Jackie on the bridge with Drake. So, how do you plan on catching up with Team Aqua?
Ranger, look ahead. You see the storm? I have been on the seas many years. I've seen many things. However, there is one thing that I have never seen. A storm never follows a path. They make their own way. Control is something that no one has over it. However, this storm, it bends to the whims of something, an unseen master. The power it would take for this is something only you see once in your lifetime. That's how I know where to go.
Well, I hope for our sake your gut is right, Jackie says as the ship cuts through the waves that are seemingly more frantic with each one that crashes against the hull of the ship. As the storm begins to rain down, we find Ash and his friends in the galley of the ship. They are trying to eat when Ash once again tries to break through the tension that he feels whenever he's around Max. However, the boy remains silent, relying on the words of Brock to impede the attempts of our hero to reach the boy. However, this seems to prompt a response that has been simmering below the surface of the group as Ash yells at Max that he isn't the only one who has lost something or someone. He's trying to offer support to the boy, but Max just shrugs it off like Ash isn't affected by the events over the last few days. This provokes an equal level of aggression from the boy, with Max yelling at Ash that he is always the hack trainer that he said he was. If Ash was a better trainer, then he would have been able to stop May from being taken. How could he call his sister a friend when he did nothing to help? Hey, that isn't fair, Ash says. I had to help Juan and Wallace, or they wouldn't have made it, which is more than I can say for you, who just stood there and watched it happen. So much for looking after your sister. This causes Max to stand up and run from the table. Ash makes an attempt to go after him, but Brock stops him, saying that he will have a word with him. Leaving Ash and Pikachu alone at the table, frustration plastered across the boy's face. Telling the mouse to follow, Ash heads outside to the deck of the ship, looking over the side out into the raging storm. Ash can't help but to think Max may have been right. He left his friends alone to save random people. Ash then resolves that no one else will get hurt. Looking around, Ash calls on Milotic, releasing it into the ocean. So, you're going after them alone, are you? Our hero turns to see Jackie. No, I wasn't. Ash stammers out, but Jackie interrupts the boy. I'm not going to stop you. I think there are too many on board to be put at risk, so I was thinking the same thing. Ash then looks into Jackie's eyes. I need to find May. Too many of my friends have been hurt because of this Team Aqua, and I can't let anyone else get involved. The ranger can see that Ash will not be convinced otherwise. Well, I can't let you go alone, Jackie says. But before Ash can say anything, the blonde-haired man jumps from the side of the ship, causing Ash and Pikachu to panic. Milotic, save him, Ash yells. But as the serpent prepares to dive, Jackie surfaces on the back of a Pokemon known as Hoenn. So, are you coming? He yells before taking off in the direction opposite of the way that the ship is sailing. Realizing that he will be left behind, Ash calls for Milotic as he jumps from the deck of the ship, only for the serpent to catch him and give chase to the ranger. Once Ash catches up, Jackie asks where they are going. Ash simply replies that they need to find clear skies. Smiling, Jackie and his new friend take off as the two test the speeds of the new water types. As they sail for clear skies and the distance between them and the boat grows, we change over to the base of operations for the dastardly Team Aqua as they sail undetected under the waves that rage above. Within the tin can under the sea, Archie and Phantom are discussing their next move. Boss Aqua isn't happy that they had to take the girl. The operation was supposed to be smooth without any bumps. However, Phantom reminds Archie that their intel was wrong to begin with. The egg wasn't on Monsu Island. How did you not know that Steven had it moved by Wallace and Want? We had to make the plans on the fly, and you said you would support as we needed it, but when things got intense, you were nowhere to be found. Slamming his fists on the desk, Archie reminds Phantom that they are only partners because they have a common goal. The temple is what they are both after, but if he doesn't watch that tone, then Archie will no longer provide him with the assistance of Team Aqua. Gritting his teeth, Phantom tells Archie that won't be necessary. He will honor their agreement. But what will they do about the girl? Smiling with a greasy sneer, Archie says that he will deal with the girl. Now we follow up with May and Manaphy, who, even though they were taken prisoner, have been allowed to roam the ship with little supervision, only a lone guard to keep watch. The two are exploring, but for different reasons. May is looking for a way out, while Manaphy, being a newborn, wants to explore its new environment. However, this is going to come to a quick end when Archie makes his presence known, greeting the girl with a cringy smile that makes her skin crawl. The girl tells Archie that he can't hold her or her Pokemon, and they need to let her go. Archie explains that she is not a captive, merely a guest until they achieve their desired goal. Well, it sure seems like I'm a prisoner. You took me, my Pokemon, and this new baby and won't let me leave. Archie apologizes for the show of force, but it's a precaution to ensure the safety of the crew. He then hands her Pokeballs back as a show of good faith. May is a bit cautious, but takes them as Archie asks if they can have a conversation. May asks if she really has a choice, but Archie simply replies, not if you're condoning being a prisoner. This piques her attention as she watches Manaphy play around on the floor. No, it is horrible. I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. Archie smiles, thinking he may have his hook in her. Well, that's what the legendary Pokemon Kyogre is. May gives the man a questioning look. Archie explains that thousands of years ago, the people of the waters sealed away Kyogre in a prison known as the Sea Temple. They wanted to control it, but when the Lord of the Sea wouldn't bow to their will, they locked it away as punishment. May isn't sure about the narrative that is being spun to her, so she asks Archie if he's sure that that is the story, because she was told that Kyogre was used as a weapon. However, Archie disputes this claim, telling the girl that the only thing that it was guilty of was living. But if the girl doesn't believe him, just know that Kyogre is still locked away, a prisoner being deprived of the right to live its life. That alone should be enough of a reason to set it free. However, May isn't ignorant to the tone in Archie's voice. There's something you're not telling me. Whether or not your argument is valid is irrelevant. How can you expect me to trust you if you keep secrets from me? May says as she bends down to pick up Manaphy as Archie was giving it a very unsettling look. Happy to be held by what it has come to see as its mother, Manaphy snuggles up, falling asleep in the arms of May. Archie, a little annoyed, states that May is sharper than he may have given her credit for. Okay, I guess I can't ask you to trust me if you don't have all the facts. There is another organization like us, known as Team Magma. I'm aware of them. Every time we have encountered them, only destruction is what is left behind, the girl says. Well, then you know that they are more of a terrorist group than anything. I formed Team Aqua to combat their evil ways, and our recent intelligence suggests that they may be close to their goal, that, if achieved, would be devastating for not only Hoenn, but the world. With a sarcastic tone, May says it can't be any worse than what she has seen them do. While I'll admit our recent methods have been less than ideal, I assure you it's in the interest of safety for everyone. Well, it sure doesn't look like that, May says, testing Archie's patience. However, the Aqua boss remains calm, telling her that Team Magma seeks to resurrect the power of Groudon, the super ancient Pokemon of land. In doing so, it will use its power to dry the world of all of its waters, the element that is essential for human life and Pokemon to exist. This causes May to gulp, as the picture Archie paints is one of desperation. With a look of concern, May then asks what they need from her. Archie explains that it's not her they need, but Manaphy. It's the only one that can find the Sea Temple, so we can free Kyogre in time. The Aqua leader then goes on to explain that Manaphy has a way to find the Sea Temple no matter where it is in the world, so they want to use it and find the underwater structure. But things have become unnecessarily complicated when Manaphy hatched in May's arms. Now the mythical thinks she is its mother. Archie says he reluctantly has to ask for her assistance in the matter, and Manaphy will not listen to anyone else besides her. Suddenly, a realization sets in for May. She isn't a prisoner, but she can't leave. She can't let Manaphy fall into the control of these guys. While Archie seems to be telling the truth, the fact of the matter is something is still off about his story. Turning to the greasy man, May asks what does she need to do. With a very sinister gleam in his eye, Archie tells May to come with him. They have a lot to discuss. Following up with the ship of Drake, the crew have been hard at work combating all of the elements as the ship is thrown around like a rag doll. However, with Drake at the helm, they have managed to keep everyone safe. But that doesn't mean that there haven't been problems, as Brock has attempted to find his friend Ash, but when he is unable to, he seeks the assistance of Drake and Fitz. At first, this causes a panic as they assume the boy went overboard. However, Drake knows better as he realizes before anyone that the ranger had gone missing. As Fitz asks what they should do, Drake stares out in the storm.
Fitz, take the helm. I have to see something personal.
Drake then leaves the bridge with everyone staring, only for Fitz to order them to get back to work. But the first mate can't help but wondering what would be so important in a time like this. Now we follow up with Ash and Jackie as they have made landfall on an island that sits on the crest of the storm. The two are exhausted as they have been traveling through the night. Ash recalls Milotic, but is struck by something that Jackie does. He simply waves some sort of magic wand that seemingly releases Huntail. As the blue serpent disappears beneath the wave, Ash questions the ranger on why he would release a Pokemon like that. Jackie goes on to explain that that's what's known as a capture stylus. It's the main tool of a Pokemon Ranger. As for Huntail, it wasn't something that he had captured. It was merely assisting Jackie as long as he had needed it. Rangers don't capture Pokemon. The stylus allows them to temporarily make them a partner, but once the task is done, the Pokemon is freed. Ash asks if that's lonely. He never gets to truly bond with any of the Pokemon that help him. While Jackie admits that this is true, he never has a problem with the Pokemon he never sees. Most trainers capture Pokemon because they bond with them, but when they get more than 6, the remainder gets sent to some place of holding, and you will only ever see them if you call on them. But some trainers forget about that when they have their main team of 6, so others are forgotten. I've seen it so many times. Plus, I get to meet so many different Pokemon. Even if it's the same species of one that I've met before, it will have a different Pokemon with a different personality, unique to itself. So I make new friends every time. Ash then asks why Jackie became a Pokemon Ranger, to which he goes on to explain about a time he got lost in the mountains when he was a kid. The night was cold, and I was scared, but the local wild Pokemon saved me. They kept me warm throughout the nights, so I could make it back home. It was then I knew that I wanted to meet as many Pokemon as possible. Being a Ranger allows that. I get to form a brief yet special bond with any partner I have. It truly is unlike any other experience, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But anyway, why did we leave the ship, and why were you telling me to come all the way out to this island in the middle of nowhere? Ash explains what Hoenn had told him, and that if they followed the moon leading to the night of the blood moon, then they would be able to find the Sea Temple. It was a failsafe built in by the people of the water. Ash then points to the moon as it hovers above the sky. You see, it's closer than usual. If we follow its path, then we should be able to find the temple. Jackie looks at the moon, then puts a finger to his ear. Did you get all of that? To which a girl repeats back, I sure did. Give me a few hours, and I'll have a heading for you. Great, I'll check back in then. Jackie out. Who's that? Ash asks. Oh, just an eye in the sky. They're going to project the path of the moon based upon the most recent movements. So if we just sit tight for a few hours, we will know where we need to go. Ash looks at Jackie as the ranger kicks back for a bit of rest. Jackie suggests he do the same. It will be the last time they have a chance to do so for a while. Now we follow follow up with May. She has been doing what she can to keep Manaphy occupied as the mythical becomes increasingly impatient over the last few hours. And with them being underwater, May's whole sense of time has become a little distorted. She doesn't know if she's been here for a day or a week, but what she does know is looking after a baby like Manaphy is really exhausting. She hasn't had any time to sleep or collect her thoughts, as her sole concern has been the water type. However, its boundless energy has reached a breaking point with the young girl when Manaphy gets a look out a window for the first time and realizes that they are in water. This sends it into a fit unlike any other that it has had before. However, this is going to prompt a far different response from its mother figure than Manaphy has ever seen, as May finally snaps and lashes out at the baby, yelling at it to stop this tantrum. There's no reason for it. I wish I never would have picked up your stupid egg. This is something that she immediately regrets as Manaphy lets out a cry of its heart breaking before taking off into a pipe that is too small for May to fit through. She immediately begins to panic. If Archie or Phantom find Manaphy, then there is no telling what they will do. Trying to stay calm, May begins to visually follow the pipes that Manaphy could have gone through. Following them, the girl begins to realize that this is going to be a lot harder than she had thought, as the once two pipes flare out into over a dozen heading all over the ship. The only thing she can do is gulp and hope she guesses right. Now we shift back over to Ash and Jackie. Two have been sitting idle for a few hours now. While Jackie has been resting as there really hasn't been any other option, Ash has been pacing, the boy's mind racing as the thought of May and what she could be going through right now is something that he can't ignore. Now that the moon is high in the sky and the night's shadows are nipping at the corners of his mind, Ash is his own worst enemy. However, he will soon get some relief from this feeling when Jackie's communicator beeps, causing the ranger to crack an eyelid. At the insistence of Ash, Jackie answers the call, only to be met with the news that they have been waiting for. They have a projection of the laid path of the moon. However, there is a problem. The last night when the blood moon occurs, there are 3 possible outcomes that she sees for the moon's trajectory panning out. Looking at the layout of the pass, Jackie understands, hanging up. Ash questions what the big deal is. They could just check all 3 of them. It's not that simple, I'm afraid. While this map looks small, the reality is this area is several hundred miles of open ocean. If we make the wrong choice, then we could end up in a place where we will never find your friend. Ash doesn't like this, but wonders what they can do as he looks out into the water with Milotic's ball in his hand. Over with May, she is searching the depths of the ship, her lack of sleep causing her mind to play tricks on her as she keeps seeing shadows that resemble Manaphy. This goes on for quite some time until she eventually breaks and finds a small corner out of sight that she collapses in and begins to cry. She just can't do it anymore. This whole thing is too much for a 10-year-old girl, May sobs to herself, hoping that she can just wake up from this bad dream. This causes her to slowly nod off, exhaustion taking over. While from the shadows, Manaphy sees this and is sad at the pain it witnesses from its mother figure. Feeling somewhat responsible, the mythical resolves that it's going to find something to make May feel better. It then takes off back into the pipes to a room that it had found. Inside sits a glowing orb that Manaphy thinks is really pretty. It's the perfect gift to make May feel better. Exiting from the pipe, Manaphy makes its way to the desk that it sits on and ascends the structure in an attempt to collect the prize. Though it feels impossible, the mythical refuses to give up and eventually is able to obtain it. But this won't be without consequence, as when Manaphy begins to enter the pipe, Archie and Phantom enter the room only to watch as the mythical panics and takes off. Back to May. Rage sets in as Archie commands for the alarms to be sound, as he thinks that May had something to do with this. As the alarms blare, May is awoken to the sound of it and Archie over the intercoms commanding that all the grunts on the ship find the girl. May has no idea what is going on, but is quickly met with Manaphy emerging with the orb. May's grogginess turns into panic as she knows that this is what the issue is. Manaphy is proud of its accomplishment, but May tells it that they have to go as she picks it and the orb up before running off into the depths of the ship, doing what she can to avoid being spotted by a grunt. May's goal is simple. While looking for Manaphy, she had come across a single-person sub that she now has her eyes set on. But there is a problem. Before her stands 2 grunts that are fully aware she is here. They both call for Archie, saying they have located the girl. Boss Aqua tells them to hold her there. He will join them in a moment. However, the 2 grunts seem to have overlooked the fact that May is actually a trainer, as the mistake that Archie made in the beginning is coming back to haunt them now, as she is able to use her Pokeballs. Even with their Groudon, May is able to overcome them using a combination of combustion and Viper, as her contest experience gives her a slight edge over her opponents. This results in them quickly being overwhelmed, forcing them to run off. Recalling her two Pokemon, May then boards the submersible, but this is where her plans have stopped, as a very real thought sets in. She has no idea how to pilot this thing. However, that's going to matter little as Archie and Phantom appear just outside the port window, demanding that May return the orb that she had stole, or there will be consequences to pay. But this just causes her to panic as she begins to push buttons on the console, causing the submersible to thrash about as it tries to free itself. This has a very negative effect as the damage it causes to the engine room is starting to stack up, but this does achieve the result May was looking for as the Mini is freed, dropping it into the opening in the floor, allowing May to push what she has identified as the throttle so she can escape into the dark depths. Archie demands that Phantom gather a squadron of grunts and head after her. However, it's pointed out by the crusty pirate that they can't. The damage that they have taken on has caused the ship to come to a full stop. We will need time to make repairs. Archie clenches his teeth, telling them to hurry. They can't lose the girl. Over with May, she is looking at the radar screen, hoping that they haven't come after her. When she realizes that they haven't, she takes the moment to breathe. May begins to scold Manaphy once more, but stops when she realizes it didn't mean any harm. The water type just was trying to make her feel better. "Thank you," she says, which causes Manaphy to get excited as it begins to clap happily. May then looks at the orb. However, the girl is going to be met with an unexpected turn of events as the orb begins to glow wildly, radiating a red aura unlike anything it had before. In turn, Manaphy reciprocates this with a glow of its own. This causes a change in the demeanor of the mythical as it makes a serious look before trying to escape the submersible. Suddenly, it's overcome with the urge to get into the water. May is unsure on what to do, but then notices a small opening that can be used to feed things outside. Looking at Manaphy, she asks if it trusts her, to which it nods. The girl then lifts the mythical up and puts it inside of the opening, then closes the door and pushes the button next to it. Suddenly, the pressure equalizes as Manaphy is shot out of the sub. This causes May to panic as she had lost sight of the mythical. However, this is only temporary as it comes into view of May in the viewing glass. May is happy as she puts her hand on the glass. It's here that Manaphy then takes off as it suggests that May follow it. Then, as if this was planned, the computer then comes online, telling May that the tracking of Manaphy has begun. It then kicks on a propulsion system, seemingly following it into the depths. Now we follow up with Ash and Jackie as they have been out in the open seas now for a few days, following the path of the moon. While things have seemed easy with the help of Milotic on their side, the fact of the matter is that things between Ash and Jackie have not been the easiest. They disagree on the path that they should be following as Jackie feels that their projections are the best way to find the temple. Ash feels that they should stay on the direct path following the moon. This is compounded by the storm as they have been forced to navigate the way through it by using Vibrava to fly above the clouds whenever they need to see the path of the lunar orb. Needless to say, the stress of the situation has caused the two to not be on the best of terms. However, they won't get the chance to be at odds for very long, as when the two are fighting their way through the storm, they come across an interesting sight, one that has Jackie's full attention. The Team Aqua ship was forced to surface in order to make repairs. At the insistence of Jackie, the two make a quick detour to check things out. The Ranger wants to know what happened. If his targets in Phantom and Archie are on this barge, then he wants to use this moment to surprise them and take them down, and get May back. However, they quickly find out that there's a story going around that May managed to get away. This causes a disagreement between the two as Jackie wants to use this as a chance to capture his targets, but Ash refuses to wait as he immediately separates from Jackie in favor of getting off the ship. This results in Jackie having to give chase, only for attention to be brought to the two. With the two now in a very bad position, they are forced to abandon Jackie's aspirations as they take to the back of Milotic and head off into the storm. The Ranger scolds Ash for his brash behavior. However, the boy reminds Jackie that he doesn't care about Team Aqua, only getting May back and making sure she is safe. So, if he can't see things his way, then maybe he should get his own ride, as me and Milotic share the same sentiment. Jackie gets quiet as he and Ash head off in the direction of the moon at the signal of Vibrava from the clouds above. However, little do they know, the two targets that Jackie was seeking had long left the Aqua Freighter in search of May, as they knew they could not lose track of her. So, the two have far less supplies and men with them, as there there are only about an hour of difference between them and our heroes, but the reality is they have to hurry, as they are only hours from the setting of the sun and the night of the blood moon. This brings us to May, as she has been traveling for what seems like forever, but that is the least of her problems, as the sub she is in has been slowly taking on water over the course of her journey. However, she has only become aware of this as the alarm has started to go off in the cockpit. She is starting to panic, but Manaphy just signals for her to keep moving. It's like the mythical knows something she doesn't. Reluctantly, May hits the override on the computer that forces it into manual control. The girl's time in here wasn't a total waste, as she watched the autopilot maneuver the vessels, so she has enough understanding to keep it moving under her own power. For how long is another question though, but things take a turn for the worst when Manaphy suddenly disappears from May's view, causing her to panic once again. Frantically, she looks around, but there is nothing until Manaphy reappears from out of nowhere. It then signals for May to follow it, then vanishes once more. May pushes through, causing the sub to lose its integrity and start to degrade even faster. But then the most amazing thing happens as she passes through a barrier of some sort that leads her into something that she didn't see before. In front of her is a massive structure that seems to exist in a protective bubble, a bubble that allows May to escape the sub before it becomes far too gone. This forces her to swim while holding her breath briefly until she is able to reach what appears to be a surface with a massive air pocket. Manaphy is excited that May is here as it urges for her to come on the grounds of the temple so she can rest. Doing so, she is finally able to catch her breath and take in the grandeur of this place. May is speechless as she follows Manaphy deep within the temple, while it swims up water paths that seem to be leading them both to something. May is wondering where this is, but it quickly becomes revealed as she finds herself in a room that seems to be fit for royalty. The jewels that line the walls, and at its center is a magnificent collection of giant crystals that glow, but that isn't what has May's attention, as at the top of the pedestal sits something that's radiating a very similar energy to the orb she has been holding. As May takes a step towards the crown at the center of the room, the orb, Manaphy, and the shard that sits atop of it begin to glow intensely. This causes May to fall into a brief trance as visions of a time long past flash before her eyes. The girl is unsure of what's happening, but one thing is for sure: a primal rage has stricken her with paralysis. However, things are going to become unfortunate as her distraction has allowed for some very unsavory characters to get the jump on her, as Archie, Phantom, and the Aqua Grunts make themselves known. They waste no time in capturing May and Manaphy as Archie takes back the orb that was stolen from him. This causes May to yell at the man that he needs to stop this. When the orb glowed this last time, she got a shock of some sort. It wasn't like anything she had ever felt. It was anger that no person could handle. But Archie and Phantom brush off this warning as the Aqua Velvet leader reaches to the top of the sea crown to claim his prize, the final shard of the red orb. It is here that Phantom states he held up his end of the bargain. Archie has the shard and Kyogre, just like they agreed. However, May comments that she didn't see any Pokemon on her way up here, but Archie smiles as she tells her to look down. Beneath them, in a pool of water that isn't visible from anywhere else, slumbers a massive blue Pokemon. The sight of this behemoth causes shivers down May's spine as she realizes that it's the Pokemon that she saw in that vision. She urges Archie to stop. If it awakens, disaster will befall everyone. Kyogre will ravage the world and bring all life to an end as the lands flood and will be sank underwater. Archie tells May that's only a half-truth. Anything that can live in the water will be spared. The rest, like humanity, a cancer on this world, will be wiped from existence. This will allow life to start over. Imagine a world that doesn't know the hand of mankind. May realizes that Archie is insane, telling him so. However, this just prompts a laugh from the man as he rejoins the orb together and a burst of aura erupts from it. Smiling, the man tells her that she will be the only living thing to witness the reckoning of this pathetic world. Now, Kyogre, awaken! What follows is silence as Archie's commands go unheeded, to which he responds with another command for the beast to awaken again, but nothing. This causes frustration to begin to build as Archie throws what seems to be a temper tantrum. A feeling of calm comes over everyone except for Phantom, as the crusty old sea dog laughs bellow throughout the temple. It seems all the legends were just that. He then reaches for one of the massive jewels on the crown as he says it's a shame that he will be the only one who gets what he wants, while he begins to pull on the crystal. This causes Manaphy to begin to panic as it it knows something that no one else does, but it's too late as Phantom frees the crystal. A violent shaking reverberates throughout the temple, followed by a cry that causes everyone to freeze as the orb begins to glow once again. Above on the ocean surface, Ash and Jackie have made their way to what could be the eye of the storm, and just like what Wallace had told Ash, the light of the red moon casts itself on the water to reveal the temple that sits just below the depths. However, there is something odd. It seems to be moving away, like it's sinking. Jackie says that can't be good. Isn't it supposed to just stay floating? Knowing this is a problem, Ash tells Pikachu and Jackie to hold their breath as he orders Milotic to dive. They need to catch up to the temple. The serpent does as ordered, rushing to catch up to the sinking marvel. Soon, it bursts through the barrier as the group find themselves falling toward the temple. Thinking quickly, Ash orders Milotic to use a water pulse, which acts like a cushion, allowing them to land in the water that breaks their fall. Once Ash has his bearings, he can see why it felt like that the temple was sinking. It's because that's exactly what is happening. Water is seeping through the barrier at an alarming rate. Jackie suggests that whatever the shaking is has something to do with it, so they waste no time as they follow the path that leads through the temple that is illuminated by a glowing water. This leads us back to May as the orb glows red and has overtaken the room. This causes Archie to smile ear to ear as the Aqua Boss looks out over the banister. Below, the beast that slumbered for thousands of years has finally awakened. To say it's unhappy would be an understatement as it begins to thrash about. Archie is pleased, declaring he wields the red orb so Kyogre will bow to his whims. Now, I command you, stop this destruction and obey me. However, this command falls on deaf ears as the water titan begins to launch a hydro pump, trying to destroy the surrounding walls. That's when it sets into everyone that there is no way out for Kyogre. The temple was built to be its true prison. However, that won't stop the legend, as its tantrum becomes more and more violent. This begins to cause cracks to form in the foundation of the temple as its very integrity is being challenged by Kyogre. But this danger is ignored by Archie, as he is more concerned with why Kyogre fails to respond to its master. Seeing the writing on the wall, Phantom tells the grunts that their boss has lost it. If they wish to live, then help him pull the other crystals from the crown. This causes water to begin to flood in at an alarming rate, causing the chamber that Kyogre is imprisoned in to begin to rise. Seeing this, Archie commands that the grunts pull more crystals to free Kyogre. As the water level rises, it will get closer to the top, and then it will be able to get past the barriers that keep it constricted. Then it will finally listen to me. However, this has the opposite effect, as they have all begin to panic, as they value their lives more than helping at this point. So they all abandon their posts, leaving May and Manaphy to fend for themselves. Realizing that the only way this will work, Archie begins to pull at the crystals with his free hand as Phantom removes more and more. May urges the mythical that they need to leave. The temple is sinking, and if they don't get out now, then they will as well. However, the water type refuses to listen to May, as it can't let its home be destroyed. So, against her request, Manaphy chooses to attack Archie with a water pulse before launching itself at him to try and stop the evil leader. This catches Archie off guard when Manaphy lands on his shoulder. It begins to bite and hit him, forcing the leader to drop the orb while trying to protect himself. However, while this is happening, the water level in Kyogre's prison has risen substantially as it leads to the crown room. Seeing this, Phantom decides that it's time to take his spoils and leave while he still can. The crusty pirate gathers 6 or 7 of the free crystals and takes off running down a now open corridor as Kyogre reaches level with this crown room. Here, its thrashing becomes more of a threat as these pillars begin to crumble, allowing the Titan to free itself. While during all of this confusion, May has come in contact with the red orb. Thinking this could be the key to stopping all this, May picks up the orb. However, this causes something to happen as the orb begins to react to May, glowing brighter than it did before. Then, the last thing that is seen is May, with a look of panic on her face as Ash and Jackie finally are able to reach the crown room and watch as May absorbs the orb and Kyogre briefly stops rampaging. Archie, seeing this, grabs Manaphy and throws it against the wall. However, this was a big mistake as May opens her mouth and lets out an ear-piercing screech that immobilizes everyone. Ash and Jackie both cover their ears, trying to block out the sound, but it's too much as Kyogre begins to rampage again. By now, the water has reached the waist of our heroes. Ash screams for May as he reaches out for her hand, but is unable to grab her as Kyogre opens its massive jaws only to swallow the girl before using the new level of water to break through the temple wall where it isn't as reinforced, regaining its freedom for the first time in an eternity. Ash can do nothing nothing but stand there as the temple begins to collapse. Knowing the boy isn't able to move, Jackie grabs him before bolting for any exit that he can find. As the temple hits the sea floor and it is crushed by its own weight, the last thing we see is Archie, who thinks to himself, I may not live to see it, but my will is done, before the man is washed away into the depths of the temple and the once vibrant monument is swallowed by the darkness of the sea depths. However, this isn't the only thing that is happening, as at this very same moment, across the region, the once dormant Mount Chimney begins to convulse as it spews smoke and rock into the atmosphere. At its base, both Sydney and Glacia watch with horror in their face.
Hey, Glace, don't suppose your ice types can fix this, can they?
I'm afraid not.
Bugger.
The two elites can do nothing but gaze on in fear as from within the depths of the volcano, the super ancient Pokemon of the land emerges with a quake that can be felt as far away as the Kanto region. And this is where we are going to leave things for now. So tell me, how did you like this part? How do you feel about the evolution that Ash had in Milotic? What has happened with May and the strange crystal form she has taken? Were our heroes able to escape the Sea Temple? And why has Groudon awakened? And what was the cause of it? Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below.